Already. So, hi everybody. I hope that you can hear me very well from wherever you are. Thank you so much for joining me today on this session. And if you're new here to this channel, welcome to this channel. And this is a very good community for you to join. On this channel, we have discussions about study abroad, life abroad, sometimes about nutrition. So you are welcome to subscribe, of course, and at least join in the conversations as they stream along. So if you're joining us just now, feel free to also send in your comment, your question, tell us where you're listening in from, and let's get this discussion rolling. Feel free to ask all the questions that you might have. Honestly speaking, this is a very interactive session, so do not shy away from saying anything on this channel. We're here to help you, and we are here to just weigh in on this topic about interviews for Erasmus Mundus Joint Master's Degree Program. So my name is Nduta Wambura. So if you're joining me here for the first time, I am the Kenya country representative for Erasmus, and I love to speak about Erasmus. I did my Erasmus program back in 2015, and I have been, quite passionate about speaking about this program over the last years, because it's a program that everybody really does need to join. And so I keep on saying, you have to just shoot your shot. It's a program that is available for pretty much anyone across the globe. So you do not necessarily have to just come from Kenya or from Nigeria. You can apply if you actually come from anywhere across the globe and be able to benefit from the program. It's fully funded. So again, please feel free to also check out either the Erasmus Kenyan chapter or the Erasmus Mundus Nigeria page on Facebook for all the insights that you actually need for you to be able to make a good application. So welcome to this session. And today's session, I'm very excited to be joined by two great, fantastic scholars, I must say. And one of them, I actually just met him on Twitter the other day. And his name, he goes by Jamaticulous on Twitter, but his name is Olajide. And I know that for a fact, he's a wealth of information. You guys, if you have not followed him on Twitter, you have to follow him. So I know he will leave his Twitter handle right here on the comment section very soon. So I'm so excited to actually speak to him. And he's a doctoral student right now, all the way in Canada. Can you imagine, in Canada? He should also tell us something about Canada, right? And also I have one other fantastic student who is a political scientist. And her name is Sheila Akech. She is from Kenya. She's a current student right now in the University of Porto, and she has been studying her Erasmus Masters in Interdisciplinary African Studies. I know I have said that wrong because it's a mouthful of words, but it's the Masters in African Studies, and she is currently still finishing her first semester, and she will be speaking to us about her program, as well as things to do with the interview that she did. So please welcome everyone. Tell somebody to join us. Tell anyone who might be interested in this session. And again, feel free to interact with us as much as you can. We will be sure to answer all the questions that you guys might have. So without further ado, let me first introduce everyone. I will begin with ladies first, is it? Yes. All right, so we start with Sheila. And Sheila, if you can hear me, hi, and how are you doing? Introduce yourself to us. Who are you?
Okay. Hello, Nduta. My name is Sheila Akech. I'm from Kenya, as Nduta said. So for my undergraduate, I did a BA in the University of Nairobi that I majored in political science and sociology. So currently, I'm an Erasmus scholar and I'm doing a degree. And Nduta got it wrong again. So it's European Interdisciplinary Master African Studies. In short, it's AMAS. So its mobility is in Portugal, France, and Germany. So the first semester, I'm still in my first semester, and I'm to finish it by April. So the first semester I've been here in Porto, the second city of Portugal after Lisbon. So yeah, I've been here for now 6 months, and it has been a very good experience. Yeah.
Amazing, Sheila. Thank you so much for taking time to join us and to weigh in on this subject. We are happy that you're here. And now I have my other guest. His name is Olajide. Like I said here, his Twitter handle goes by the name Jamaticulous. I might be saying that wrong, so please forgive me. So please introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you are doing in Canada, what you have been up to with Erasmus, all this good stuff. Tell us.
Okay, thank you very much, Unduta. I mean, I must appreciate you for holding forth at the Kenya chapter, and putting information out there for a lot of our countrymen from Africa. Well, basically, I'm Olajide. Maybe if you are here from Twitter, you see it as Jamaticulous on Twitter. So Unduta got it right. So I had my master's in Europe, with the Erasmus program. So I graduated 2 years ago. So I studied under the FAME program. So that's the Functional Advanced Materials Engineering. So for that program, you had the opportunity to go, from France to Germany to Belgium and to Portugal. So those were the countries involved. But for me, I spent time in France and in Germany. And so after that, after my program, I stayed in Europe for a couple of months before I, crossed over the Atlantic and moved to Canada, where I'm currently undergoing my doctoral program at McMaster University. So basically, that's it for now. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us in this session. Honestly speaking, I do appreciate you taking the time to come over and weigh in on this discussion. And guys, this discussion is about the interviews for Erasmus joint master's degrees. And if you're listening to this, either maybe you have applied for an Erasmus joint master's degree and you are awaiting to do your interview, or perhaps you're looking to apply perhaps in the near future, and some of the programs honestly have to do an interview for you to complete the process of their evaluation. And after the interview, they definitely let you know whether you are a successful candidate or not. So today's session is basically to weigh in on the tips from our experiences, and of course tell you what to expect. Of course, it depends on any of the consortiums, how they deal with the interview processes and all these kind of things. Personally, I did my Erasmus in 2015 and I only had one interview. And that one interview was basically just to get to know me, just to get to know who I am, and to see whether exactly what I wrote on my application mimics exactly what I say in words. And of course, just to gauge the personality and that kind of thing. So I want us to begin this discussion, and I want us to begin with the experiences that both of you, Olajide and Sheila, have had in the recent past. And I guess I will start with Olajide here. So can you tell us, how many interviews did you get? How were you able to plan on these interviews, especially now, of course, coming from Nigeria and the time differences with Europe? And how did you have to plan the interview? How was it? I mean, in terms of the planning first. So I will let you speak in a bit. So yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Nduta. Right, basically, I remember very well that I applied to 3 different programs. And so for 2 of the programs, I had to undergo an interview, right? So the first point was, okay, after you've applied, then they do a pre-evaluation, they make a short list, and they invited me for an interview. I can remember vividly that I had my interview in the afternoon, and I think it was in the winter period, that's around January, February, winter in Europe. So I think the time difference was, if I'm right, I think it's 1 hour between Nigeria and Europe. I think I did it in France at that point. So the time difference was not there, so it made sense. So I can remember very well that I had the option to select between the web interview and the phone interview. So I went for the latter because I didn't want to run into issues concerning the internet, because I didn't really trust the internet to see me through the interview. So it was a phone interview, but it was a cool one. We had nice conversation. They wanted to see my personality, like Nduta said. They wanted to be sure of my motivation, and most importantly, they want to confirm, my English language skills, right? So the whole thing was, more of a, a Q&A session. I had technical questions being asked, and after that, we just, we chatted. At the end, I could remember I asked questions, so that it doesn't seem like a one-way thing. So I asked questions about the university, about the city, most importantly, and I, as a person, I love, socializing. So I asked about the social aspect, and I could remember my interviewer on the other side was really, really, enthusiastic about giving me a lot of information, concerning that. So it was a wonderful, great interview for me. Another thing I remember when I did my interview was, they kind of asked me, what are my future plans. That was very important to them, because if you know very well, the Erasmus program, especially the ones in the STEM aspect, are very research inclined. So they wanted to know what I had in mind going forward. So I wanted to do a PhD, as I'm doing right now. So I let them know about that, and it was, I could feel the joy, in the interviewers, at the other end, because from the program, the idea is always to train people who want to advance science, advance technology, go into a PhD, for example, or maybe go into a position in the industry at the research level, advance science, contribute to tech and things like that. So that those were the major things I was asked in my interview. But like I said, very, very important, especially for, I noticed, for programs um, that did request for English language test. The interview was a big way, to verify your English language proficiency. So that was basically my experience a couple of years ago.
Right. So, which means that if a program, an Erasmus program, potentially asks for an English language test, then if they have an interview, they will definitely be what that is one of the things that they will be looking for, your command of the language, of the English language, right?
Yes, yes. Or maybe, for example, if it's a program that requests for French or Spanish language proficiency, so be sure, especially for program who request for it, and they want to, you're going to use it as, a means of instruction. Be sure that you might be asked questions along that line, just to be sure that you have, an at least intermediate level of proficiency to be able to follow the classes.
That's good to hear, because I remember when I was doing my interview back in the day, Portuguese was not one of the requirements. However, they asked the level of my Portuguese language. I actually didn't have any. But by then, luckily enough, because the language of instruction was English, so that saved me quite a lot. However, at least the university was able to provide an Portuguese course when we got here, and that helped a lot to even get by. However, this is something that is often asked by students, that as much as all Erasmus programs would be run in English, there's an aspect of some of the programs asking for Spanish, French, Portuguese, like you said. So I guess at some point, if you don't know the language, and yet the language of instruction will be English, I think you should be good to go. Either
Yes.
way, it's always good to confirm with the consortiums whether they need you to maybe start the language before you come, or what is at stake, correct?
Yeah, yeah, you're correct. I mean, a whole lot of them, a whole lot of the programs are taught in English. So I should let people know that, for a fact, right? Only a few, I could say maybe 1% of the programs will require you to have a proficiency in another language, right? But for the programs that take it in English, you will always see that as part of your course module or course component, you have, just a language class, that you will do for free, and just to be able to get some basic proficiency in the language. I mean, that's the essence of Erasmus, right? it's not only the academic part, but it's also the communication aspect and the language aspect and the cultural aspect. And language is a very important component of that.
Right. And staying on with the planning, you mentioned that you did a phone conversation, a phone interview rather, instead of a web interview. And that is something that is very crucial that you mentioned, that you can choose to either do. Some consortiums might just say it has to be maybe a Zoom meeting or whatever it is. But if you have the choice, then that is very good. And also, I would imagine in terms of the time zone, you had to maybe align your time zone with the time zone of the place that the university was located. So that is something that I would like to also ask Sheila about. And how was your preparation? Because it varies from one program to the other. And I would love to hear from you, Sheila. So how was your experience in terms of planning? Did you do a web interview? What interview did you in terms of the time zone? Was it something that was favorable for you? How was it really?
Okay, thank you. For me, I didn't have any option but the Zoom interview. So I was told before that it will be on the 29th of March, which is around this time. So you have to prepare, and the time zone, they specifically told me to check because it was our consortium is based in Germany. So it is like 2 hours from now. In Kenya, it's like 2 hours. There's a time difference of 2 hours. So I had to really check on that. And they insisted on the web interview on the Zoom. So for me, I didn't have the phone interview. It was specifically Zoom, and we had to do that. So it is up to you to check the time zone. But they were kind enough. When it's like an hour to the interview, they will always write you an email for you to remember. So I had to check my emails and not to miss anything, and to be very specific on the time and the exact details they give you about the interview, because initially they told me how many people will be in the interview, how many minutes the interview will be. So you have to you have to prepare in advance, because they give you everything that you need. And that's how I went about it.
Right. So, which means that did you have to stay up a little earlier or wake up a little, later?
No. It was in the afternoon. So for me, when it was around 2, so in Kenya, so here it was 12. So I was lucky to get the slot where it is during the day. So it was easier for me to wait for the interview. And I was just I left everything I was to do for that day. And I coincidentally it was on my birthday. So that I just left everything and I was waiting for that interview. So you just know when you have something you want, and you just have to create time for it and be very specific on the details they give you. So yeah.
Perfect. Nice to hear. And guys, if you're listening to us, wherever you're listening us from, please type in on the comment section. Let us know whether you have any specific questions that you would like either Sheila or Olajide to answer on this session. And just to give you a disclaimer here that for sure, as we do this session, this is just a sharing of experiences. It's not a blueprint as to what exactly is going to happen during the interview. So, because it of course depends from one person to the other. And again, I would like to say here that we do not sit in any one of the consortiums. So we're just offering information as we've had it from our own experiences, as we've heard and interacted with other students, and so on and so forth. So once again, that is a disclaimer that you need to know, that we do not sit on any one of those committees. So we will not determine, how well you might do or how worse you might do in the interview. Again, so I want us to delve deeper into this conversation, and I want us to begin with the pointers of exactly what to expect, what type of questions to expect, because this is not like a job interview, it's a scholarship interview. So I don't know whether you can share some of the questions that you might have had Olajide, and I know that for sure, it was a phone conversation, so you maybe were wondering, so what are they going to ask me? They cannot see me, they don't even know whether I'm real. I don't know what are some of the set of questions which might be stipulated into your professional experience, your, maybe volunteering experience, perhaps maybe even, your skills, set of skills or set of knowledge or what you have been studying. So what are some of the questions that you were asked in terms of your profession, in terms of your volunteer? I know you mentioned something to do with your future plans, but what exactly were some of the questions that you might want to share with us?
Thank you, Duta. Right here, I could share up to 10 different questions or even more, depending on, general questions. Right. I might not want to delve into the technical questions because it's field specific, right? So I won't be able to speak directly to questions in the field of African interdisciplinary studies or in health or in social science, right? But I will talk about some general questions which you might expect, which I also faced, right? When I had my interview, right? I can remember the first question was like, they told me to introduce myself, right? So introduce yourself to us, let us meet you, let us know you. So this was where I was talking about my background, my qualification, where I come from, okay, right? So they don't know me before, so I had to give them, okay, this is where I'm from, this is my qualification, right? So this is a little, I just talk a bit about my work experience. So I didn't delve into it too much because I knew they would appear again, going forward during the interview. So I just gave them a brief about me so that we could get the conversation going. And I can remember the next question that came was like, why did I even choose the program? So you realize that it's linked to what you said in your SOP or your motivation letter, right? So I was talking about now you want to be more specific. In fact, if there were things that you did not have the opportunity to include in your SOP because of a word count or a word limitation, right? So this is the point where you need to, right? So if you are talking about, let's say you are applying to a program on let's say IDOR, infectious disease and One Health, you want to talk about your motivation, you want to link it to public health. We're in an era of, we just came out of a COVID era and everything, so you want to link it to that. So we're in an era also of sustainability, right? You want to link it to that. So if you're in a program, let's say IMSIS, International Master in Security and Intelligence Studies, blah, blah, blah. Some of you know the program. You want to link it to the security issues. You want to link it to the geopolitical issues. The good example is what is happening right now in Russia and Ukraine, right? You can even link it back to your home country, right? In Nigeria, we have some internal issues, right? In terms of security, for example, you might come in from that aspect. You might be from Ethiopia and you want to talk about the issues that the Tigray people are facing, right? You want to come into that aspect and how that motivated you to want to study a program. So you must always find something and link it to a global view. Then another thing they asked me was, okay, what do you know about the program, right? What do you even know about us? So I want to talk about, okay, I know the objective of this program. I know what you guys are trying to look for. I know the outcomes you're expecting from students when they graduate or when they pass through this program. So you want to talk about that. You want to also say, oh, I know that, for example, if they offer an internship component, you want to say, oh, I know that you offer an internship component in this program. I know that there are these universities and things like that. So these are the things you want to talk about. They might also ask you that, how does the degree you have before, how does it relate to your background? So if you are coming from a program that is directly fit into that master program, I think that should be easy for you to explain, right, how your background relates to that. But if it doesn't, right, because some of the Erasmus programs are interdisciplinary, you want to talk about how your knowledge in one field, let's say for example your knowledge in the field of computer science fits into a program like digital communication leadership, right? So you want to talk about, okay, although you don't have a communication or mass communication background, but you have a computer background, okay, you've done digital marketing in terms of your work experience, you know this, you know that. you want to bring some leadership things into play. So find a way to link your not so direct program into the Erasmus program, right? They've seen your SOP, they've seen that you have something to offer, they've looked through your transcript, but they also want you to elaborate and be sure that you know what you will be getting into if you join the program. So and then you have the requisite background to be able to follow through, right? Because I can remember when in my program, we had people from, in material science program, we had people from pure material science, people for physics, people for chemistry, people for mechanical engineering. We were so heterogeneous in the class. And I can remember we will be in class and they'll be teaching a course. You realize that some people with a background, they understand very well, right? And others do not really, they are not so strong in that aspect, right? It's the idea of the Erasmus, they know. But in the first semester or in the first year, they will, teach you all the basics at sorry, they teach you the basic, not so basic though, a little bit, right? So that they ensure that everybody gets an idea of what is really happening before they take it to an advanced level. So that is a very, very important thing. Then also they will ask you, okay, why should you be choosing for this program? So this is where you want to talk about, your key selling points. What are your key things about you? What are the things you've done? What are the skills you have? What are the technical skills? You look at the programs. What are they doing in the program? So you link the skills you have. Oh, I've had work experience in this area. I know this program does this. I have the skills to follow. I've shown excellence in my background. I have the tenacity ability to follow through this program. I have excellent writing skills. I've spoken. Published publication. I have the all these things you talk about it just to sell yourself, right? So, sell it sweet, short, and simple. And another at this point, the final question you might expect before I go on again to the other aspect of the interview questions. I think I've mentioned 5 things now. So I mentioned the 6 things is okay. What are your goals after the program? Just like they asked me after, right? So what are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? If you want to do a PhD, right? You mentioned it ASAP. Okay, my goal is to do a PhD. In fact, if you want to make it, more interesting, you say, oh, within the Erasmus program, I've looked at your consortium, and I know that you have collaborations with some universities, and partners, and I know that they offer PhD programs. In fact, I've looked at them, and I know the trajectory I might follow when I finish this program. So when I finish, I'll just transition into this PhD. So it shows that you've done your background. You know you know what you want. You know what you want to do, right? So, and if it's not a PhD, also if it is a job also, you might say, okay, I know you have industrial partners in your consortium. In fact, I've identified one company that is linked to the program. I intend to do my internship with them and possibly transition into a job, when I finish. So you're allowed to speak whether you want to do a job, a PhD, a job, or if you say, oh, I want to go back immediately to the job I have in my own country, it's also fine. So you want to give them the short term goals. Then your long term goals also you want to say that if you want to do a PhD, if your long term goal is to go to a research in industry, you want to be a research engineer, you talk about it. If you want to be a professor, you talk about it. If you want to impact knowledge going forward, you talk about it. If you want to, improve yourself, professionally, you want to gain more certifications, you also talk about it. They don't care whatever you want to do, but just let them know your plans going forward at the short term and also at the long term. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing. And I like that you weighed in that people should not fear. So, because sometimes you feel as if you're giving away too much of yourself, but that is exactly the core of Erasmus. They want to know who exactly is this person that we are bringing on board. Is this person just coming just to run away? As they say in Nigeria, Japa, is it? They want to just run away from their own country. Or what exactly is your core purpose of doing a master's anyways? Is it that maybe you wouldn't have done it in your own country? You would easily do a short course in your country or even an online course and gain the skills that you actually would want to have for your future. So you have to make a very convincing statement. And especially now, because it's a one-on-one, whether it's on phone or on a video, it has to be very convincing and has to be very congruent with what you wrote on paper, because it is one way to write a very good and very nice SOP, and they will be like, wow, this is the person. And then when it comes to one-on-one, what you're trying to say and what's on the SOP are two different things. So if you put two contradictory messages, then that could potentially disqualify you. We are not saying it will, but that's a potential to disqualify you from the program. So I remember personally, that is one of the things that I had to mention that, hey, I would love to work in Europe, honestly. So it's not that they will disqualify you if they hear you don't want to go back, because that's the other African mind that we have, that we are afraid to say that we want to work in Europe. If you want to work in Europe, say you want to work in Europe. If you want to go back to your own country and maybe to your old job, or maybe do a new program or a project or whatever it is that you envision in doing, say it. Lay it all down there. That is why it's even, we call it a statement of purpose or a personal statement, or they just want to know who exactly you are. So thank you so much for weighing in on that. And Sheila, you are on demand here. Somebody wants to hear your experience on AIMAS interview tips. I'm sure I'm saying that right now. It's EIMAS, AIMAS. Right? So I want to hear from you. So what are some of the questions that you experienced, and what can you share from your interview experience, Sheila? And as we go on, guys, please, I would love you to keep on asking the questions. We'll definitely answer them at the very end. And, in case you also have any comments, any other questions that you might even have for general applications of Erasmus, please feel free to leave them on the comment section. We are happy to interact with you today, and we'll answer all the questions that you might have. So Sheila, please tell us, what are the questions that you had?
Okay, thank you. So for me, what we did in our application is that we had a group of applicants from all over. And then the best thing that worked for me is that most people had their interviews first before me. So I was keeping tabs on what they were asked. So by the time I had my interview, I already had a list of the questions I can get in the interview. And the tip is that you keep on answering them, read out loud, answer them. And not that the first time you are in the interview is when you are getting your thoughts and you're answering. No, you should just answer, do a mock interview for yourself. So that worked. So the questions that I got was like, why IMAS? Why should you be the student to be after they have chosen from all that? Why are you supposed to be the one to be the IMAS perfect candidate? So that was the first question that I got. And also, before the questions, you have to introduce yourself, and like Jamatikila said, you should introduce yourself, make the first impression about you, because the first impression will determine how the interview will go. So for me, before I even started my interview, I had 7 questions that I had prepared because I had asked. And so I had a list of 7, but out of those 7, they just told me to introduce myself and why I must. Now from the questions from my answers, it took away the interview, it shaped the interview, because now it was more of a conversation between me and the interviewer, because they say they have already read everything and they know. So it's like they are just connecting who is this person who wrote and who is this person we are seeing. So they're looking at your personality. Everyone has a portion to ask, and they have your application, so they know who they are talking to. They just see if it's in sync. So for me, the questions were only 2. Why AIMAS and my introduction, and then from there is when we started conversing. So there's this person, because AIMAS, there's in the application form you have to say the languages you talk. So for me, I speak also Swahili, and there's someone from France who has been in Kenya for 8 years. And so the interview shifted to a Kenyan affair, and he was telling me he has been in Kenya for 8 years, he knows Swahili. So he actually wanted me to talk Swahili with him in order to, maybe I had written, so they had to be sure she knows what she's talking about. And also what they asked me is how to survive in Europe. There will be no ugali, there will be no nyama choma. So what will happen. So basically, and then the coordinator was like, when you started the interview, you are very serious, but now when now you are talking Swahili, you are jovial and all that. So what I can say is that the answers that you, or your first impression, can sometimes shape the interview. And it may be now even not an interview, but people who are meeting for the first time and making stories and chatting away. So sometimes the first impression, and also before you go to an interview, talk to other people, talk to the people who had been in your cohort in the same, because they will have the nitty-gritties of that specific Erasmus course. So you will be at a better position, because the general questions will be introduction, why the course, what are your plans. Those are general questions that you must encounter in any Erasmus interview. So be specific and don't invent things. Let what you wrote on your SOP and on your CV be what you will answer. So don't start inventing your answers and inventing your stories. Just have what you had on your application, and you can elaborate more, but not introducing new things. So, and also know your SOP and your CV back to back, because sometimes somebody can just pick a line and ask you from nowhere. It can be any question. Like for me, it was Swahili because I had written on my application. So know your CV back to back, know the years. If you are experienced from this year to this year, know the years. Just know everything, know your application back to back. So it's not something that it's new, it's what you have written, and that's how it will go. They won't ask anything out of that. Yes.
Wow. So, I mean, that is a very good point that you made. Your first impression means a lot. It could make or break you. And that is one thing people also do not, attest to, because the other thing is that is might not seem like a big deal, is that how you present yourself, even your dress code. Some people, we are thinking on, okay, we are at home, so you don't have to be very official or very impressive looking anyways, because the thing is, fine, Europe is very casual, but you also need to be very presentable during your interview, and as much as fine you might not officially dress, you can wear something that looks presentable. You don't want to be with a tank top or showing everything out, and it's an interview, so there's also that, and impressions go down the line into how you're dressed, how you're speaking, how you articulate your points. Sometimes it's okay to be nervous, but at the same time, what you're trying to tell them, if you're easing up, like Sheila mentioned here, that she started easing up as soon as somebody spoke Swahili, then that is one of the very, very good points that you made, that the first impression really matters. So one of the things that I would say for sure when you're preparing to actually go into the interview is that you can even go on a mirror and be able to speak to that mirror, just in case you want to introduce yourself to that mirror, or even your friend. Like, sit down with a friend, do a mock-up interview, maybe, if that is going to help, if that is going to calm down your nerves. But what I can tell you is, for sure, please be yourself. Be exactly who you are and represent what you wrote on paper, because again, there's what you wrote that actually really counts. So of course, they know your skill set, they know your knowledge base, they know the experiences that you've had, your volunteer experiences, your work experiences. They pretty much know everything already. So yours is to just convince them as the last part of evaluation, that hey, this is actually a very good candidate, and this is a candidate that is a change maker. This is a candidate that can be able to maybe stay in Europe and work in Europe, and can maybe fit in our program, because there's also the thing about what are you bringing to the table. It's not just you're coming to take the scholarship and the scholarship money. They are funding for everything, so you're not just coming to take. What are you also giving? What skill set do you have that can be very crucial to a program? It can be something as simple as organizing maybe certain programs that the program, your program might be having. It could be as simple as cultural interaction, organizing maybe cultural stuff within the program. It can be quite simple, but you need to also mention what are you bringing to the table. And also, one other thing that I also want to mention before we go to the next section is you also would need to maybe ask some questions. Some consultant will ask you, hey, do you have any questions at the very even end of the interview, or maybe in the middle, depending. So if you have questions to the consultant, it's always good to ask a question or two. You could ask about the structure of the program, or you could ask about maybe how the movement from one place to the other will be, or you could ask just one or two questions. Don't be too pushy, because some people might have like a bombardment of questions that they want to ask during the interview. If they ask you, do you have any questions? Ask one or two, some very simple questions, which you might even be able to find the answers on the program website, just to have a way to interact with them. It's okay to ask these questions. So I want to ask to go to the next section of this interview. And I do see quite a number of people here who have interacted with us. Thank you so much for staying on with us. And we're going to go to the next section, for which I want to talk about what not to do during the interview. What not to do, which means that maybe somebody is thinking that, hey, maybe this is just like a normal job interview, the way you go, and they ask you how much you want to be paid and all these kind of things. What is it that you learned over your interview process that somebody ought not to do? You of course maybe came over, you've interacted with the students that are within your cohort, and even Olajide here must have interacted with the students within his cohort, and there are some of the things that you're like, somebody should not say that during an interview, otherwise it's not going to go well. So Olajide, if we can begin with you, and then we'll come to Sheila, because I know she has quite a number of stories as well, and then we can move forward. What not to do during this type of interview? And of course, it depends from one program to the other. But what are some of the pitfalls that people need to look out for as they prepare for this?
Thank you very much, Nduta. For the first thing that comes to mind right now is not being well prepared for the interview. When I say not prepared, well prepared is you come into an interview, you have a bad internet connection, right, and it's frustrating. Trying to connect with the interviewer and everything is something that you should ensure you take care. I know it's always out of your hands at times, but it's really important that if you are in a locality where the internet is not bad, you can travel to your friend's place or go somewhere else to get a good internet connection so that you can carry on with the interview. Sometimes, when the interview is so poor and so bad, it can frustrate the whole process, and it might not, it might destabilize you as well, and then you start giving wrong answers, right? Another thing you shouldn't do is when you are asked that, will you be able to join this program, even if you don't get a scholarship, never say yes, right? It's very important. Never say yes, right? So if they tell you, let the outright no, don't say yes as a point, because that might play into the hands in a way. If you say yes, I can join, they might assume you have a fund coming from somewhere, and they want to say, okay, we can give the money to someone else, who also needs, right, the scholarship. They want to bring it, or they want to diversify the money, so they might do that. So be very, very, unless you have the money, don't answer yes to that question. It's very, very important. Another thing is that you shouldn't do is you shouldn't make during the interview, don't make it a one-way thing, right? We talked about something the other time. We said they might say you should ask questions. Ensure you ask questions, ensure you are engaging them. It's very, very important. I see some people, they go to interview, they just do it a one-way thing. They ask you a question, you answer. They ask you this, you answer. So try to engage them as well, right? So If it's so one way, it's so boring, they might not remember you for anything when they are doing any decisions later on. Like Sheila said the other time that she was able to connect with the interviewer by speaking Swahili, and they laugh, they engage about it. When they are making decisions, say, yeah, okay, so final decision. Let's rank this. Oh, Sheila, yeah. They will have something to remember for you for. We spoke Swahili. I like that lady. Please, the name should be there. I think she's well deserving. So it's very, very important that we do that. Then also, when we're asking them questions, never ask a question that has been explicitly indicated on the website, right? So you shouldn't do that. If something has been on the website, maybe the structure or the mobility of the program, or maybe it's on the FAQ section of the website, and you are asking them again, it might come off as if you've not done your homework. So it's very, very important that you shouldn't do that. Then also sometimes they might ask you questions, especially technical ones, and you do not know it, right? So make an attempt, but even if you don't know it, you might say, this, you might play around it, at some point you might say, okay, I have no idea to say question. It's not the bad thing, right? It's not a bad thing if you don't have an idea to the question. We've had situations where people were asked 10 questions, they were only able to answer 8, 7, and still got into the program, right? So don't fabricate something, or just waste the time of the interviewer trying to ask, play around with the question. So try one attempt. If you can't, then you let them know it's not a bad thing. It's a normal thing in Europe here, right? So we are in classes, they ask us questions, we make an attempt. It doesn't mean they will laugh at you, right? So they might say, okay, you have an idea, but it's all right. So that's another thing. I know people from our country, they might want to try, keep on pushing at it, right? So you should know your limit at some point, even though you don't have an answer to it. Just let them know it's not a bad thing. So I think those are the major things I have for now. If I remember any other one, I'm going to mention it.
All right, and you mentioned something here very important. One of the things is that, of course, Erasmus, as we move forward, we are going to have a different approach in terms of funding. So they will be accommodating more students who are self-sponsored. So that's a very, very good point that you made, that you have to be very, very clear that you want the scholarship. You don't want to self-fund. And so, that is something that moving forward will be very, very, very crucial for you. And another thing that I want you to mention is that some consortiums might ask you to do like a very technical question, so which might need like things like calculators and that kind of thing. So I don't know whether you know about this, but some of the consortiums that I have come across, they ask some very technical questions, some of them mathematical questions, which for sure you would need to have a calculator on the side so that you're not caught off guard. So these are some of the things that you might want to need to have. And some of them ask just general research questions, which might need you to think and give them a very comprehensive answer. I don't know whether you can say something about that.
Yes. Well, to the best of my knowledge, at the interview section, I've not seen anyone who says, they ask them a mathematical question and they have to start calculating or punching calculators. Why I say so is because the time are always limited. They give you 15 minutes, 20 minutes. They have a list of people to be interviewed, so they want to move on with it quickly. So you might not face that. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's not so much, but in some cases, if it's programs where you have to do a quiz prior to the interview, yes, then of course you should have your calculator well prepared. You should be prepared for that, because you might need to punch calculators to answer some questions. But at the point of interview, it's not so common. It's not so common.
Yeah, so I found it with one of the consultants, and one of the students was asking me about this. So that is something that, even as we have new programs, things are changing. So I would assume that that is not common as well, because a 15-minute interview is quite daunting. So, but that is one thing that I came across, and I felt it's good to mention here. Like the student was asked a very technical math question, and they had to calculate, and that was frustrating to them. So anyways, be ready for any type of question that you might be asked by a consortium. So I want Sheila to tell us, so what did you notice that somebody needs not to say or not to do during an interview before we can go to the question and answer segment. And guys, please keep on asking your questions. We will definitely answer all of them. And even if it's not related to the interview process, if it's related to the application process, we have a whole half an hour to actually do that. So Sheila, please tell us, what do you say about what should somebody not do, ever do during an interview process for Erasmus?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I will start with the small things that you might overlook. So first, as Jide said, look for good network. For Kenya, you can go, I'm not advertising, but the networks that can work for you and some will not work. So look for good networks. Don't be stingy on the bundles you buy. Buy a lot because you don't know how the interview will go. Look for a quiet place where there's no distraction and anything. And look for a place that is also presentable. Not that it has many things going on and on the background and everything. No, just keep it simple and keep it also formal as well. So one thing I learned from my interview is it's normal to be nervous, but you can work on your nerves. So don't be that serious and you are not even smiling. You can give them a smile. It can work magic. So that is what I learned, because at the end of the interview, the coordinator actually had a comment like, initially you are very nervous and we were worried how the interview will go and you are not smiling. So it's good actually to smile, and those people are not after you. So most of them are rooting for you. So you can take it lightly a bit and calm on your nerves. So you can work on, like we have said, on mock interviews. They really help. What I also learned from my interview is that sometimes you can be asked a very general question that you cannot guess it has to be right or wrong. So like I remember an interview, I was asked about the pay gap in Germany between the female employees and the male employees. So I didn't know the percentage, and you cannot guess about it. So it's also okay to say you don't know, but you can tell them, I know this and this, but I don't know the exact percentage. So you can find your way around the question, but don't overdo it such that you make everything else that you said to be wrong. So it's also okay to acknowledge that you don't know some things. So yeah, those are the most have already been talked about, but the interviews, they are not after you, they are rooting for you. So make it worth it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love what you mentioned here, that, you were asked a question and you had no idea. And come on, you don't know everything. And it's okay to say that you actually don't know the percentages, because, perhaps they are trying to get to see how much well-read you might have, you might be, or how much research you might have done previously. So these are some of the questions that you might experience. And actually the thing that, for me was, I was asked a very technical question, which was about percentages, certain exact percentages. I am a nutritionist by profession. So there are certain exact percentages that you have to offer somebody who is in the ICU. And I was asked this question. And I remember that, I could remember vaguely, but if I say the wrong thing, and this is medical practice, then, you're out of it. So that is one of the questions that I was asked. And I was asked about my job, because by then I was working in a hospital, and they wanted to know what was my experience in the hospital. What have I been doing in the hospital? Because I was coming to do an MSc in clinical nutrition, and they wanted to know exactly what I have been up to and what necessitates me to come and actually do the course from the University of Porto. As you may know, guys, Erasmus has been changing the funding, and so by the time we were coming in, it was not the same funding structure that guys have right now. So we had the opportunity of either actually choosing one university, just to go and stay in one university for the whole of your period, or you could actually maybe choose two universities, or do a mobility, a 6 months mobility period, or a 3 months mobility period. And even for PhDs, we also had this kind of mobilities for 6 months, for 9 months, for even 1 year, depending. So things have changed quite a lot. And right now you are able to at least go to a minimum of 3 consortiums. Very few courses only have 2. Most of them have a minimum of 3. And going on forward, things will become even much better. Like I mentioned on my previous video, Erasmus has changed the funding structure. So which means that, those who will be coming in from next year, which means those who will be applying this year from September all the way to February, would be able to have an extra amount of, it's not extra rather, it's just that the funding structure has changed, which means that the stipend is now going to be 1,400 euros. And this is going to incorporate the installation cost, the travel cost. And if you do the math, it's about, I think, 2,600 extra. So, I mean, some people were complaining, and I wanted to address that just before we go on to the question section. People were complaining that, hey, this is very little money, but hey, if you do the math, before, what used to happen is that, you have the 1,000 euro stipend money, you have installation costs and traveling costs that you get at every start of each semester, which, so if we count the stipend money, it's 1,000 times 24 months, which is 24,000 euros. Plus, you also have 3,000 traveling costs each of the semesters. So those are 2 semesters, which is now 6,000. And Olajide and Sheila can correct me here. So that is 6,000 euros. So you already have 30,000. And then you have an installation cost of, I think, 1,000. It depended on different programs. So which counts to 31,000. And of course, you will get this reimbursement of your flight if you paid for your flight, for your visa. These are some things that when you come and sign in your contract, you are able to sign up for a reimbursement of the costs that you incurred. So in other words, you would maybe receive around 31K. I don't know, Sheila, you can tell me yes or no. You might want to say no. I don't know whether you want to share that information right here, but Olajide as well can chip in and tell us whether that was the amount that he received. Personally, that is what I received by then. And I don't know, Olajide?
Yeah, I mean that it was around that amount as well, right? But things have changed now, so it's 1,004 per month for the 24 months. So 1,004, it has increased by, I think, 2,000 compared to previous years, right? So
absolutely. So
so,
it's going to be
so things have changed a little bit. So everything that you are, the 1,004 includes your travel, your installation. There's still an increase compared to previous years, and we shouldn't forget that there will still be some programs that wouldn't give you that amount right now. Why I said so is there are still some programs that add money from the previous grants they got from the European Union, right? The European Union, the EACA, European Union gives out grants to different programs, and when they give them the grant, it might run for 3 years or 4 years to hire students per year. So they might still have that money in the bank. So they expect that they will still pay you along. They might still pay you in the formal, the way it's done formally, right? But programs that just got new money from the European Union, right? They just got funding. It's possible that they will use this new payment structure. So don't be surprised if you see that type of little difference, right? So I just want to put that out. Then also, I remember another thing, that when you're an interview, of course, like you said, you shouldn't lie, right? You shouldn't fabricate things. Then also, don't defend what cannot be defended. Know where to draw the line. I remember a student, who did an interview, and they were asking them a question about a particular issue in Africa, right? It was a glaring issue, right? But the student tried to argue their way out to let them know. He was just trying to defend, right? But it was a glaring issue which, is known, one, globally, two, it's an issue that is linked to the support European Union is giving to Africa. So these people are aware, but coming out to try to defend and everything, put the student in a bad light, and the student said they felt that was what disqualified them, and they give them the opportunity for that program. But luckily, they got to know another program. So be careful where to draw the line. I'm not saying you shouldn't defend your country, but just be very careful. Also, don't castigate where you are coming from. If you've finished from a particular university, if there are some things that you should have known that have not been taught, there are ways you should be able to present it. It doesn't sound as if you are rubbishing your home university. Is very, very important. So know where to draw the line.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for weighing in on that, actually. So those are very, very good points that you have made. And now we are going to go to the question and answer section right here. And guys, if you still have a question, please shoot it on the comment section really quick. If you, are not able to send the question right here, please feel free to reach out to any of the groups that I sent the links for the Kenyan chapter as well as the Nigerian chapter on the comment section. So please feel free to ask all the questions, and don't feel as if you're asking too much, because we are here to help you, really. And having gone through the programs, we quite know the ropes of in and outs, basically, as much as the backstops with the consortiums. And pretty much we have been there. We've gone through the programs ourselves. Sheila here is still going through the program. So please feel free to go ahead and ask the questions. So I will invite Sheila once again here so that we can have the question and answer section here. And I see on the comments somebody asking, Sheila, I'm interested to connect with you. I'm a prospective applicant for AMAS, awaiting invite for interview. Can you drop your LinkedIn or Twitter, please? Do you have any one of those? I know you have LinkedIn. Perhaps I have not seen you on Twitter. I tried to find you on Twitter. You don't live on Twitter. We live on Twitter ourselves.
I'm on Twitter, but I use different names, but I can give that person my email. It will be easier if it's a one-on-one. Yeah, so I can leave you my email, right?
Well, if you feel comfortable getting all the emails from all the people who will be listening to this, then good enough. But Sheila, this is Miet White, who wanted to know your Twitter or your link. So whichever you feel free, please, you can leave it on the comment section, and then they can reach out, right?
Okay.
All right, so FOB says, good to be here. I applied for EM 2022. Looking forward to be shortlisted for the interview if applicable for my course. To my course, of course, we wish you all the very best. Okay, so Sheila, this is another question for you. You're very popular here. Okay, so I applied for AMAS, but haven't heard anything yet. I would like to know around which time in the month did you receive your interview email? Thank you very much. You can weigh in on that, Sheila, as we wait.
You can wait up to the second month of March, because the interview are usually the end of March. So I think by next week or the other week to come, some emails will be sent. Yeah, so by the end of March, everyone would have known if they have qualified for the interview or not. Yeah, so we just be patient.
Already, so that's good to know. So by the end of March, you should be able to know your verdict, whether you have an interview or not. And like I keep on saying, please do not overinvest your emotions onto a scholarship or any other application. And I want section, I would like Olajide to say something about that, as well as Sheila, in terms of investing emotions into the application process, because it can be quite daunting. So we will speak about that in the very last segment here. So please let Sheila share her experience on AMAS interview tips. She actually already did that, and you can reach out to her. She's going to leave either her email, her Twitter, or her LinkedIn right down below, right, Sheila? So you can leave that. Congratulations to Sheila and Olajide. Well done. Yes, it seems AMAS has many prospects for sure. Yes. So what should the introduction be like in this case, did you mean the introduction of the interview or your own introduction? I believe it's your own introduction. And Olajide, you can mention something to do with this, because somebody actually has a follow-up question there saying, during the interview, can one say things that are not explicitly written in your SOP? And so you speak this fluently. You speak SOP language fluently, Jama. And so I don't know whether you can mention something to do with that. And as well, how should somebody introduce themselves when they're asked to do that?
Okay. I'm sure when it comes to trying to find a job, right? When you go for an interview or you meet someone, maybe you're an entrepreneur, and you meet someone, you meet an investor, there is always something they call pitch yourself, right? So if you meet someone within a minute, right, can you give a 60 minutes pitch about yourself? So think of it like that. So in this situation, when it comes to introduction, of course, you want to talk about your name. You want to talk about your name and just give them an idea of where you come from, just to be sure that you guys are on the same page. For example, like I said, I'm from Nigeria. I come from so country, city. In fact, you can even mention a city in some cases. It could help you. You can never tell me, I say, oh, I come from Lagos, Nigeria. And then they will say, oh, I know Lagos. I've been to Lagos, a couple of, years back. It's important to mention that also. Then you can also mention your academic background, the qualification, right? So, and you also want to mention, what you've done before in relation to the program. So do it short, sweet, 60-second pitch. Name, where you come from, your academic qualification, right? And then what you've done before in relation to the program. So that is very important. Do it short. Don't expand too much, because if you start saying everything, then you might not, you will have to maybe possibly repeat it again, as you advance in the interview, because it will form part of the things that you might be asked again. So just 60-second pitch, short, sweet, and simple. You can draft it down, then practice it so that you know how to go about it. Then also, I think, what was the other question? I think someone asked about, yeah, yeah. There are some things, yeah, you can say it explicitly, of course. That's why I said you can elaborate, right? If there are some things that you mentioned in your CV or your SOP that you're not able to elaborate. For example, you're talking about in your CV that you've done a research, or you did a thesis research or something like that. All right, and you did not have the opportunity to say a lot of things during in your CV or your SOP. This might be the opportunity, right? They might hint at it, and then you elaborate. Oh, I did this research. This is what I did. These are the skills, techniques I use. This and that. Yeah. So, of course, elaborate. Be explicit enough when asked. Don't talk too much, also. So that's very important, right? So don't talk on and on and on and on. Sometimes you say some things. The most important is cut it short, and so that the interview you'll be able to advance in the interview and have the opportunity to talk about a whole lot of other things. Yeah.
All right, absolutely. Agreed. I was just taking a minute here to share Sheila's Twitter handle. And if you guys check on the comment section, I've shared it. If you want to ask her anything about the AMAS program, is very fresh on the program. She's actually among the second cohort that came in last year. So this is a very, very good program. Even as an African, you can take advantage of it. We've done a video before with a program representative on this channel, so you can definitely watch that as well, for you to be have an overview of what to expect for the program, the types of curriculum that they have pretty much in each one of the countries. Sheila mentioned here that she is in the University of Porto in Portugal, and she is headed to Germany, and I believe the next one would be in France. So, and then the fourth semester, you definitely have to choose depending on your thesis. So, of course, please reach her on her Twitter for any one of those questions. The other question here is, okay, so thanks, Duta, for this forum. Yes, you're very welcome. Shout out to Olajide for sure for doing the great work he does on Twitter. Please, guys, follow him. He's a very good wealth of knowledge in terms of different other scholarships, giving you pointers here and there, not just for Erasmus, really. So, please follow her. If you want to migrate or Japa to Canada, he's the person to ask. Yeah. Okay, so now, then we have very valid point. Your introduction can reshape the interview. Yes, we mentioned that could bring questions that would change the dynamics of the interview for sure. Let it flow. Let the conversation flow. Don't be so closed up. And like Sheila mentioned here, if you connect with someone, let it flow. Let it flow. And this person is going to remember you in the future. So, how many people get to interview an applicant at a time? Good question. For me, it was just one. For you, Olajide and Sheila, you can say.
It was one also for me, but there are programs where you have 3 people on the panel. Yeah.
So for me, it was four people. Yeah.
Wow. So it can be 1 to 4 to 5, really depends. And I don't know, you guys, I only had one interview. Sheila and Olajide, did you have 2 interviews? You had, or just one?
I had 2 interviews.
Okay.
I had 2 different interviews in different programs. Yeah.
Okay, in 2 different programs.
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, in some situations, the interviews are done during this committee selection meeting. Some programs, they come from different countries. So they come together, maybe they meet in one of the cities, they sit down, review the applications. Maybe in 2 days or 3 days, they quickly review all through the application. No, sorry, they've started reviewing it prior. Then they come together, they put forward the candidates for the interview. And then at the committee meeting, they do the interview. And you see in some situations, they will do a video interview and you'll be watching everybody in a boardroom speaking to you. You might see 6, 7 professors seated, doing an interview with you. So don't be surprised if you come across that situation also.
Yeah. How about you, Sheila? Did you have just one interview?
Yes, for me it was one, but now I think it was one because there's a representative in every university. So the deans of every university will be attending. That is in Portugal, Germany, and France, and then the coordinator of the AMAS. So that's why I think it was one.
Right, perfect. Because also my coordinator was just one, and it was being coordinated from another university in Prague, Czech Republic. So the person who interviewed me was actually from the University of Porto, just because they were the ones who were organizing everything when I get to the university and all these kind of things. So that's a very good point. Now, the other question is, if an applicant is, thumbs up to Sheila and Olajide, of course, for sure. If an applicant is shortlisted for interview, is it proper to ask them a question if given the opportunity? If it is appropriate, what kind of question should we ask? Sorry, my network is unstable a bit. Sarah, I don't know whether you mentioned this in relation to the questions that you might want to ask the consortium. Olajide, if you can get this question from Sarah, if you can see it on the comments.
Yeah, I can see it. I mean, like I told you in my own situation, it was not only about the academics. I want to also know about the social life, right? So I ask questions like, okay, how do the students get together, to socialize within the program? And the interviewer was really glad to, she just kept speaking on, and we have parties, we go for hiking, we go up the mountain, we do this, we do that. In fact, we always have a summer school where you take conference, you go for conferences, and during the summer school we visit the city, we go around in groups. These are you can ask that type of question. Also, you can ask questions like what are the internship opportunities that are available within the program? Am I free, to apply to an internship in any country of my choice within Europe? Do I have the opportunity to do that? You can ask that question. or where should we do our thesis, or how do we select our thesis topics and things like that. You can ask that type of question. Are you at liberty to pick whatever you want, or it's rigid? These are the type of questions you might want to ask. Or you might even want to ask a question, might even want to talk about, okay, the industrial partners. Maybe you've identified a group, and you might want to ask, okay, what are the opportunities even going forward beyond this program? What can we do, this and that? If there's something related to language, you can ask, oh, on the website I didn't see anything about language courses, no information. Are we going to be taking a language course? Is it free? Do we have to pay for it? Is there credits? Are there credits allocated to the course, right? Things like that you want to confirm, in-depth question to show that you've done your research and you just try to engage them. So, these are the type of questions that they really appreciate, to know. Or you might even ask, have you had people from my home country before, in your program, right? Is there anyone within your own country in my program, things like that, just to get a sense of how diverse the program is. So I think those are the type of questions you can ask.
Absolutely. And Sheila, did you ask any question? Did you get to ask any question yourself?
Yes. So because like I said, my interview was it became a conversation. So it's like we had talked about much. So the question I could come up with at that point was how the coordinator is able to coordinate everything because of COVID and everything. So that's what I asked. And then they also asked me, there's a Kenyan on the first cohort. Have you talked to them or anything? So the little things they can ask as well. And from there you can ask questions as well. How has it been to manage different people from different countries as the coordinator? How has the first semester gone with it being the first cohort? So those are the type of questions I asked. Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. So guys, now the other question that we have here is, how are you able to get in contact with other applicants? One thing for sure is the reason why we have these forums on Facebook is to have a community around people who are also applying for the same program. So if you are applying for example, AMAS, then in most cases you might find that there are other people who are also applying for the same program, and you can find these people either on the Facebook group of the Nigerian, the Erasmus Mundus Nigeria or Erasmus Kenyan chapter, or even we have the Erasmus, global. We have several pages online, and you can actually go to the social pages of any one of the programs. Each of the programs have to have a social page. And these social pages can either be on Twitter, can be on LinkedIn, can be on Facebook, can be pretty much anywhere, right? And if you don't find it on any one of those social media handles, you can always ask a consortium. Do you guys have a sort of maybe a page or a social page that has even past alumni or any type of support that I can interact with other previous applicants and ask them such questions, and in fact, these are the people who would be very, very well vested to even look at your statements of purpose. Check your CVs, check your general application, in fact, because as much as we might want to tell you this is what you can do, somebody who's gone through the same program is the best person to tell you that, hey, this is what I was able to do. This is what I have been able to see during the program. This is what to expect. So what you can do is put your best foot forward. Go to that social media page. Of course, don't just DM someone and say hi, and you'll be like, that's it. Come on, really? No. We have my DM is full of hi, and I don't answer to these DMs. Honestly, I will never ever answer to such DMs, and I'm sure Olajide here as well, and Sheila. Don't ask somebody hi what? Tell me exactly. Introduce yourself very well. Who are you? I don't know whether maybe you're a stalker or who is on Facebook who is trying to get, extort money from me or swindle my money or whatever it is, or, the thing is, introduce yourself. You get my point. Introduce yourself very well. Who are you? What are you trying to do? Ask this person nicely the kind of help that you might want to have. Believe me, people are very, very, very welcoming and can really, really assist you during whatever the the application process that you might want to have. So feel free to put your best foot forward to have join in these groups and introduce yourselves to people you think might help you. Now, I'm so excited to be on this session. I applied for GlowDep and I'm looking forward to be shortlisted for the interview. Great session thus far. Thank you so much, Michael, for staying on, and we wish you the very, very, very best. And even if you're not shortlisted for the interview, please make sure that you can even apply once again, and in case you're not even picked out, please apply again and again and again. I keep saying on this channel that, hey guys, you know what? I was only picked up after my second attempt. I applied for the first time, I was put on a reserve list, and I had to apply for the second time, and that is when I got in. So please do not feel as if this is a wasted opportunity. You learn a lot, even during the application process. Adigoke Mary, you've been shortlisted for Anima. Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. And I hope that things go well. I don't know whether you have an interview. You say I have actually been invited for an interview for the Anima program. Congratulations. I hope this session is giving you some few pointers here and there. Okay, so we have shared the Twitter handles. Question to Sheila. I am also waiting for the interview invite. Can you help me with a pre-interview question, please? Can you do that? Or you have GDPR issues and that is confidential? This is very confidential, I believe.
I think they can reach out for specifics or the questions they have on my Twitter. Nduta, you have shared, right? So, yeah.
All right, so slip into her DM, and you know what? Her Twitter is private Twitter, so you better be nice. Otherwise, she will not let you in. Anyways, please be nice as well, asking these questions to any one of us as well. So let Sheila drop her email. She's dropped her Twitter, so you know. Okay, so Timothy asked a question, and I know Olajide might want to leave us in a few, but I know he can stay on for the next 10 at least to answer the remaining question and also give us some final remarks. We'll let him do that in a few, so in the next maybe 5 minutes, but let's answer this other question here. In the unfortunate event that you experience a power blackout during your interview, what should I do to counter such an event? So Lajita mentioned something here about that, and he said that, move to somewhere else where if you think that, your power might go off, that is not something that they experience in Europe, so they might not even understand that. Let me tell you, Europe, when you come, you will be like, okay, where am I living? Where have I been living? Because there's no power blackout. There'll never be a power blackout. There'll never be a water blackout, or water will never go dry on your tap ever. Never, ever, ever. That's something that's unheard of. These are not things that affect them, so they don't understand. Hey, or the internet is like food here. There's no way you would lack internet is like pretty much everywhere. So these are not things that they might want to understand. So what you would do, and Olajide can mention this. Actually, let me let you answer that question.
So, like I said, just for the sake of a 15-minute interview, if you have to get a gasoline generator just to help you through, it's a short interview. So put on a generator, working generator. So just use that for the sake of your interview if you can, or find a place with a stable power supply. Just so that, because if there are disruption, or if someone is making a noise in the background, it might destabilize you. I might not even remember some things you want to answer, or they might want to hurry you up and just end the interview. So it's very important that you make your interview environment as conducive enough for for the sake of yourself and the interviewer.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we are going to answer the next question, and then I will let you, Olajide, to give you some few remarks before you leave. Now we have Michael here, or I don't know whether you have some more time to spare or not. or it's
No, I have to join another meeting. So
okay, cool. So let's answer this question and then you give us your final remarks. So, is there a way to know the exact faculty members that would be taking certain courses in the programs in order to check out for their research interests before the interview? Good question. And Olajide can say something about this. And I would also want you to now tell us about the emotional investment of scholarships. That is something I want you to speak about. And also, as you wind up, you might want to mention, the PhD that you're doing in Canada. If somebody maybe is thinking of, hey, you know what, Erasmus is not for me. I want to go to Canada. I want to run away to a colder place. And that's where my destiny is. So I want you to weigh in on that question from Michael, as well as your final remarks, and tell us something about Canada as well. It's it's good to know.
yeah, thank you, Nduta. I mean, as regards that question, yes, in some cases on the website there will be external links to the individual universities, right? So you will see those information about who's going to be taking one course or the other. In some cases on the website exactly, you might find a PDF document that will talk about the courses and who's going to be taking it, right? But just get an overview doesn't mean that you should take your time and spend a whole lot of time trying to identify who takes this course or that course. Maybe just one or two persons, especially their research interests, because there will be cases where they might ask you what type of thesis topic or thesis area, what type of research area do you want to do your thesis. So in this case you might want to have done your background check to know any professor that is in any affiliated university, and you let them know that just one or two. Doesn't mean you need to do a research on everybody, because there are a lot of courses per semester. So I can imagine the efforts that will go into identifying all the professors that will take all the courses. So yeah, just to do that. Then also, as regards the emotional aspect, yeah, of course, we know how scholarships are. We know how the waiting process is. I know it can be brutal. I must acknowledge that, and I won't right. I won't dispute that fact. But the only thing I can encourage you to do is try to apply to as many places as possible. Right. In fact, as you submit an application, while you are waiting, invest your time in applying to another thing entirely. Maybe not Erasmus, maybe somewhere else. You might be taking time to try to come up with an SOP that can even divert your attention away. Or if you're someone who is working professionally, just focus on your work, go to your work, be invested in something. Don't ignore every other thing else because you apply for a scholarship, right? And then if you're idle, that's the one thing I recognize. If you're idle, right, you will realize that you are mostly playing the waiting game, and then you have that issues and that type of emotional issues when it comes to waiting for a scholarship. So invest your time in other things, right? If you don't have a job right now, invest your time in other applications, invest your time in volunteering for other things, continue building your profile, right? Okay, don't stop because you've applied to a scholarship. I think those are the ways you can divert your attention away, right? And the last other thing is, yeah, about Canada. Yes, of course. As you know, when it comes to doing a graduate program in Canada, it's quite different from Europe. In Europe, we have a lot of well-known, established public scholarships where everybody has to apply. Just like Erasmus or like Commonwealth or the likes, right? So, but in Canada, we don't really have those much options, right? So, what you are coming here to do is mostly purely research. So, it requires you to have someone who wants to support, who is willing to supervise you and who is willing to support your application too, right? So if you are coming to Canada or you intend to do a graduate program after your Erasmus, yes, one thing is always to reach out to professors in advance. In fact, if any of you here in fact, I will encourage many of you who are still planning to apply, you can apply to Europe first, right? You can go there, gain expertise, gain connections, do a lot of old things. In fact, enjoy your time in Europe. You have all the time. Enjoy your time in Europe, then divert to Canada. You realize that all the experiences you pick from the Erasmus program, the intercultural experiences, the cross-country experiences, the research experiences in different universities, especially the networks, right, will help you if you want to transition into Canada, right? In some cases, some of you, your university might have a collaboration with a university in Canada, maybe one of the professors in your university. So that could help you. So you might take advantage of all those routes to come to Canada, right? So coming first initially, we don't have much universities in this country. I can come maybe 100 or 120, right? And you have a whole lot over Europe, right? So people are competing, jostling for positions. Some of you you have really, really good profile, but you are just unlucky because you have thousands of people. And you have an Erasmus program who is opening up over 2,500 scholarship positions across 150 programs all over Europe, right? So you see that you have a lot of opportunities. Right now that Erasmus has opened up, there are no more limits, right? There are no more limits, right? You can apply to 3, 4, 5 programs that you want to apply there, gain everything you need to. You see that when you are there and you finish, you put yourself on a better pedestal to be able to transition to Canada. And we shouldn't forget the aspect of trying to travel and everything. And also another thing is, if you want to come to Canada, let's say you have for a PhD program, or you are planning to do a PhD directly, right? But you don't know if it's the right thing for you. I always encourage people, go for a master's program first, right? Do a master's program, see if you love research and academia and everything. If it's something that is nice for you, yes, right? So go for it. You can do it in Europe, or you can even come to Canada, right? So I won't say, I don't want to go on and on. We always have all this discussion of Twitter. We always have all this post on Twitter a lot. So if you want to know more about that, you can check me out on Twitter. We have spaces like this. I've been on spaces with Sunduta and a lot of other people on Twitter. So the conversation always continues there. So please feel free to connect, and I wish you the very best. But just before I go on Duta, I remember that there are some other questions, interview questions, general interview questions that I've not mentioned. I told you I had up to 12 or so, but I mentioned only 6 or 7 of them. So if anyone here wants to know more questions, general interview questions that they might face during the interview, you can also check me out on Twitter. I have some pinned tweets. So the first tweet you will see, go through it. I've broken it down and how you are expected to answer, right, those questions. So you will see the rest of the questions in that list, on Twitter. So I think that's it for me.
Wow, wow, wow. I must say a big thank you for taking the time to join us all the way from Canada. It's amazing that, it's a global village, and having met you on Twitter and connected with you. So thank you so much. Yeah. I really appreciate it. So we hope to have maybe another session, maybe in the near future.
Of course. Of course. Just another thing again. This is what Erasmus, this is what scholarship, this is what study abroad does for you, right? It helps you to build all those global network, right? That you might not even expect if you are back in your home country. So that I'm always an advocate. I'm always an advocate of studying abroad, right? Study abroad. It gives you new perspectives, trust me. And if you want to do it, the best way to even do it is with a scholarship, right? It takes the worries away, So it's very, very important that people take note and they put in their best application. And also, there is one thing before I will address before I go. I can see my message pop up right now. My meeting has started. If you are trying to apply for a scholarship, and in Dutas put it, you can reach out to Erasmus page for Kenya or for Nigeria. Within the community, you always find someone who has been there, done that. So you can reach out to those pages and let them give you information or tips or any or anything that could be help you in your interview, right? Also, even if you don't, if the informations are not sufficient enough, the ones you get from these pages, I always advise people that you always find people on LinkedIn. That's the best place. You always find people. If you want to find someone in anima, like the person said, I want to find someone in a anima program. If it's a new program, you won't find anybody. So you just have to use all the resources and this video, my Twitter handle, you use it to prepare and hope for the best, right? So, and then going forward, you'll be a resource for any other person that is coming ahead. That's what I believe, that we share information, right? We share information to help our compatriots from Africa get global opportunities. So you keep sharing like that, you keep expanding. That's my own belief. That's what has always done, and it has always worked, right? So, but if you don't find someone, so if you don't get the information you need on Facebook, go to LinkedIn, type the name of the program. Someone will pop up. It doesn't have to be your home country person. I don't know. Some people come to me and say they want a Nigerian on so program. Come on, you can find a Kenyan, you can find a Dutch person, you can find a Portuguese. And this is the thing Erasmus teaching us: interpersonal skills, how to relate with people, basic etiquette, how to reach out to people you don't even know before. A foreigner. I know some of us who are not comfortable, at first, but that's one thing Erasmus will teach you. In fact, that's a skill you need to have, because they might ask you, how do you relate with people? Have you have some intercultural experiences? It's very important. So if you are so reserved, please get out of your shell. Know how to reach out to people. Basic etiquette. Hello Santos. I'm so. I know you're a Brazilian or this thing. I'm from this country. I apply to this program. This question. I've been invited for an interview. These are my background. In fact, I've done some preparations already, just to show that you are not coming there to just take, right? You say you've done your own work, you've prepared for the interview, you've had this question in mind, but you are thinking, what area could you concentrate extra? Just come in. There are ways you do this thing, right? So it doesn't seem as if I hope you understand what I'm saying. There are ways you can present these things to the person and be like, oh yeah, sure, come on, it's okay. Yeah, I'm willing to help you. I've been on the program. Some people are really super nice and they'll be willing to help you. So feel free to always reach out to people. It doesn't have to be your countrymen, because this is what you will experience when you join the Erasmus program. You'll be in classes, you might only be the black person, right? Amongst 20, 30 white. So you should be able to relate and, even write from your own country on social media. So that is very important. I needed to put that out there. So like I said, the conversation continues on Twitter or on Facebook or wherever it is. So I just wish everyone the best. Dota, thank you very, very much for inviting me for this time.
Thank you so much.
And nice meeting you to share live. You can hear me in the background. Nice meeting you too.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much, Olajide.
All right, I have to pause out right now.
Yeah, we're going to send you some sunshine from Lisbon as a thank you.
All right.
We have lots of it in Portugal right now, so I know
okay.
you're somewhere. So, anyways, thank you so much for taking the time and for hanging out with us. So,
all right, take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. So we still have some few more questions to answer, and we will take them together with Sheila. We have some bit of time to kill, although this live session should not be more than 2 hours. So we have just a little bit of more questions here, and Sheila, we will go ahead and tackle them. So one of them that I had missed is, should the introduction include current place of work? That is something that you could include, yes, but it's not necessarily, quite important. Sheila, I don't know what you have to say about that. If maybe somebody is asking, I guess, if they want to introduce themselves to the consortium during the interview, should they include the place of work?
Personally, because mostly the interview is actually 15 minutes. If it goes, it can be 20 minutes. So you don't have to have the details of everything you do. You can just mention what you work here currently, you are based in this and this organization, and go to another thing, because most of them have your application and they know everything about you. So you can just mention in a brief. And what I would like to say is that there's no structure on which somebody will tell you you should say this, but as you prepare, you'll just know what you say. And if you have done a mock interview and you have prepared on your mind, you will have something to say. So it's not like you are going to cram. When I'm asked this, I will give this answer. So what happens when the questions are totally different? So that's why we are saying let the interview flow. Sometimes they will not ask you what you have prepared for. So yeah, just let the interview flow.
Yeah. Let it flow. That is the message here. So now Michael asked here, I applied to the junior master green networking and cloud computing. Please, who else applied to this program, and how do I reach those who have passed through the program? I think, Michael, you've already answered that question. So it's for you to do your due diligence. One, to either interact with people from, the Nigerian page, the Kenyan page, or better yet, go to LinkedIn and find this people, or you can check the Genial Master Networking and Cloud Computing social media handle. Perhaps they might have it, but if if you find somebody there on that social media handle, then you can be able to actually go ahead and reach out to them and ask them what's going on, and interact with them. Introduce yourself in a nice way, okay? So please don't go like hi, like we keep saying here. Don't just say hi. Come on, guys. Now, Sheila, this is another question for you. Sheila, for AMAS, they state a written application 60%. What is that? Can you tell us more?
Okay. So for AMAS, they have this percentage on 60% written application. That is your motivation, the motivation letter, the application form, and the CV, and all the documents that you will attach. So that's the 60%. There's another percentage for extracurricular. So that you should, for AMAS and I think all the other Erasmus program, they are not just looking for a student who will be a bookworm in class and all that. So give them something else that you do apart from your academics. So that is the extracurricular. Could be a sport, could be a volunteer, could be the clubs you are in, or what you are doing. If you are a Christian, if you are engaged in church activities, you can write that as the extracurriculum. So that also takes, I think it's 40%. I'm not so sure, but yeah, that's the percentage. So they look at a student holistically. Yeah, because for us AMAS, apart from the academics, there is what we call interculture communication, and there's something called project colloquium, how you will be interacting with students to come up with ideas and fresh ideas for African solutions there. So that's what they look for.
Yes, so you had it. Like most of the consortiums will tell you what they will look out for. So you can find this information actually on any one of the program websites. Some of them will tell you the selection criteria, which is very important because some of it might include some documents, some of it will include some exact stipulations of a statement of purpose, for example. Like they will tell you that, hey, if it's 500 words, it's 500 words. It's not 1,000 words. It's not 900 words. It's 500 words. And that might be one of the criteria that, might cut you out. And believe me, it's not a robot that looks at these applications, because people keep on thinking that, hey, this is a robot that is going to crawl on my application and, no. These are real people. They take their time to check those applications. Each one of them, really, it's quite a lot of work. So if they find that, this person never even followed the rules, or this person didn't even have all the documents, your application is set aside. No more questions. It's that fast. Because can you imagine, you have a whole set of 1,000 applications from people from different parts of the globe, and you're tasked to see which is the best candidate here. You have no time to check somebody who has no enough documents or has gone beyond and decided to write a whole book about their statement of purpose. Hey, no. So please check the selection criteria very well. And it's actually on pretty much all the program websites, they will have this as well. So yes, it means the questions you want to ask the consortium. Thank you, Olajide. Okay, yes, Olajide already answered that question, Sarah. Okay, many thanks. Thank you so much for staying on. And now we have Miet White saying, about asking questions, is it proper to ask about the race relation in the consortium countries? This is definitely something that is a gray area. I don't know what you meant by the race relation in the consortium countries, or you meant to ask about racial profiling, or whether you fit into such spaces. Well, this is a very, I wouldn't recommend you to ask for, such a question, obviously, because again, you do not want to show as if you're not very accommodating. Remember, you're coming from a different country, a different culture altogether. You're coming to interact with students from different cultures. So you don't want to definitely be, put yourself on the edge where you're asking about such questions already, yet the thing about Erasmus is for you to integrate with different cultures, for you to meet people from different walks of life and have them, as your companions during the classroom. Like for example, myself, we had people from 10 different countries in the classroom. So, hey, come on, the rest goes out of the door. So, and I know what you mean, obviously, because in terms of how different countries might be welcoming or not, or maybe people within the streets or the community within the country that you're going to, this is something that you have to be ready for. I will tell you for a fact, the moment you leave your country, whether that's Kenya or Nigeria or whichever the country, does not matter. You are no longer, I will say this because now I come from Kenya and Sheila as well comes from Kenya. So the moment you leave your country, you're only seen as a black person. So sometimes you might just, you want to identify you're Kenyan or you're Nigerian or whatever it is. Most people will just look at you, you're just a black person. And this is something that might even start affecting you as soon as you're on board a plane. That is just something that you have to be ready for. And the thing that you have to also prepare for is that you're going to interact with different culture, different set of values and different sets of things that they do here and you don't agree with, or maybe some of them you might agree with. So you have to be ready for this. And this is not a question I would obviously say that someone should ask as, during the interview. Please just come and learn, because again, at the same time, you're the one who put yourself out there. You want this Erasmus, you want to study in a different continent. So, I mean, you also need to have a very open mind that you would be able to interact with these new cultures. So no matter how difficult it might be, no matter how easy it might be, this is something that you have to just get ready for on your own without necessarily putting it verbally in an interview. Or what do you say, Sheila?
Yeah. For me, I won't advise you to ask such race, because the foundation of IMAS is mobility, and mobility, they come with intercultural communication. That tells you how to deal with different cultures, different races. So I would advise you look at it's not that it's not an issue, but it's not an issue to bring up with people who you want to fund you to go to their country and to learn in their country. So for me, I wouldn't ask the race issue, maybe at that point. Yeah.
True. I agree with you. So, and now the next question says here, what is the best response to give if the interviewer asks if one has applied to other programs? Very good question, because right now we do have an open-ended way of applying for Erasmus programs. So we no longer have the cap that we had. Before you could only apply for up to 3 programs. So right now you have an unlimited number of programs that you can apply for. However, of course, making sure that as much as you have no limit, you are also applying for the programs that you actually fit. You just don't apply for a program just because it's out there. Maybe you have a background in business and all that kind of thing, and then you throw yourself into an engineering program. Come on, what are you doing? It's not like, they will look at your application anyways with that type of jumbling of ideas and jumbling of your background. So I would say that for sure, if they ask you whether you have applied for other programs, it's okay to say that yes, you might have applied for other programs as well, because you're looking to actually study abroad. And that could, depending on how you put it out there, you can say that, hey, I've applied for another Erasmus program as well, just to make sure that I can cast my net as far as I can. And sometimes it's okay if you weigh the situation and, they might ask you whether you have applied for another program as a self-funded student or on a scholarship or these kind of things. Please always have the fact that you are actually applying for a scholarship. So if you say yes, say that, yes, I have applied for another Erasmus scholarship as well. So, I mean, it's okay to disclose this information, because let me tell you what, the EU consolidates all the information about the applicants and consolidates about all the information about the successful candidates. So they might, of course, see your name elsewhere, and this might cause havoc. And in fact, what used to happen is, before, when we had the cap of 3 programs, some people would apply for more, and the consortiums would consolidate their data, and some people would be disqualified because they applied for more than 3 programs. So it's okay to say that if it's another Erasmus scholarship that you have applied for, it's okay to disclose that information because it shows that you're honest as well. And at least if they do their background check, then they will see for sure that, yes, for sure, you have applied for another program and that's fine. So moving on to the next question. I was specifically told my interview will last for 10 minutes. I wonder what interview could possibly take place in that short time. Sheila, yours was 15 minutes, right? So, yeah.
Actually, you will be shocked if you are not prepared. It can feel like one hour, those 10 minutes. So a lot happens. So a lot happens within the 10 minutes. Every second counts. So they can ask a lot. And you'll have to say a lot as well. So yeah, just prepare.
Be prepared.
Yeah.
That's the point. So, anyways, thank you, Duta, Sheila, and Olajide for sharing. Yes, thank you so much for staying on. It's me, Anyango, and Oluwatobi Ezekiel. Thank you so much. Yes, you didn't join the live chat earlier. You have not. Yes, you have missed a little bit, but of course, the video is going to be very much available for you to rewatch. You can share this information with somebody else as well. Yes, some questions are open-ended. Yes, for sure. Questions like, tell us about yourself. Definitely, there would be open-ended questions. That is something that obviously happens. I had an open-ended question because the first question I was asked is like, so who are you? And then that question is like, okay, you will say your name and then you say what you do and that kind of thing. So, but what I can tell you for sure is that be at ease to tell who you are exactly. So from your name, of course, don't make it too long. So introduce yourself. So for example, you say, hey, my name is Nduta Wambura. They call me Jane. Some people actually call me Jane. Anyways, it's my English name. So anyways, besides that, so you say what you're comfortable in, of course, being the official names that you have put on your scholarship. So you would say, my name is Jane Wambura. I come from Kenya. I am, for example, myself, I will say I'm a clinical nutritionist and I have been working, if you want to include the work part, I've been working in the hospital till today and I'm interested in this scholarship. This is not what you should be saying, but it's just you being very open to saying who exactly you are. Who you are could be related to what you're doing currently in terms of a project, could be, of course, something that resonates with the consortium, with what you are actually applied for, or it could be just you saying your name as well as where you come from and leave it at that and see what is the reaction after that, because the follow-up question is what builds up the whole conversation. I don't know, Sheila. Tell us. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so you will have to introduce yourself. All the interviews, the scholarship interviews I've done, an introduction is a must. So for me, what I can say, like I say, it's not scripted, but know what to say, your name, your experiences, your motivation, your passion. And then something else is that when you are talking about yourself, talk about yourself, make somebody be interested in what you're saying about yourself. So you don't go like, I'm Sheila, I'm Nini. No. Like, be passionate about what you are. Sell yourself, even if you feel like you are under, like there's nothing, but you can actually sell this pen and somebody is selling a car, and it depends on what you are saying. So just be confident about yourself and what you are saying. Yeah.
Through the confidence, very important. It doesn't matter who you are or how you feel that you are inferior or something of the sort. Be you. Just be you. The you that you wrote on that statement of purpose and put some very good words is the same you that you need to just show out verbally in that case. So I hope, Oluwatobi, we answered your questions. And now I applied for NOHA. I have not heard anything from them yet. So I think from now henceforth, you should be able to get some sort of feedback from now all the way. Some programs might even extend to June, July, because they have an extended deadline. Like we do have some programs that have a deadline in March. Some of them even up to the 31st of March, which is something very new. So whichever the case, just know that the program that you applied for will definitely tell you something just before summer, because you would need to now prepare for you to come and start your studies in September of this year. So which means that it can go as late as June or July, some of the programs, obviously, and this also depends on the reserve list, because some programs will only call people on the reserve list up to the very, very last of minutes during summer, maybe sometimes in June. We had a student last year who was called from the reserve list in July. So, you know, that is something that can happen. It's not common for consultants to do that. But from now henceforth, if you applied for a program and the deadline already passed, they should be able to start telling you something, whether it's about an interview, whether it's about you're on a reserve list, or maybe you need to legalize some documents, or you need to maybe even forward other documents. Maybe they've given you a conditional offer for which you need to submit a certain document for them to go ahead and process your scholarship application. So then in that case, please take your time, let them tell you something. They will definitely tell you something between now and latest of the latest in June. So I submitted my application without using the Europass CV format. I hope it won't be a problem. So this one is not usually a big problem necessarily if it has not been explicitly stated on the program website that you have to have submitted a Europass CV. A Europass CV is usually preferred, but not a must if the program has not stated that they really do need a Europass CV format. So that's the thing that you need to put in your head, that if they did not explicitly say that you have to have a Europass CV format, then you are in the clear. If they said so, then perhaps they won't just dismiss it. Obviously, they might look it up. But if that is part of the selection criteria, then of course you miss 1 point or something, or depending on the number of points they're giving to your CV. And I mean, Sheila, you can say something about this as well, because I know you had to, I think you did have to write a CV on your Europe CV format, right?
Yeah, it was not a must, but what I can say, it's sometimes you might realize you have done a mistake with your application or you have left a document. So what you can do, the best way to go about it is to reach out to the coordinator. Most of them usually respond fast. So if it's something that they can help you with, they will advise better. So if it's a document or you think that the CV format was wrong, you can always reach out, and they usually respond very fast. So yeah, you can try and ask.
Absolutely, yes, you can ask for sure. But again, at the same time, it's not a guarantee, because it depends also on the program. But yes, it's worth the shot for sure. 100%, it's worth the shot. If especially they had stated that they do need the Europass CV format on the website. So the next question: if in the application I said I can't be a self-funded student, are the interview for the scholarship, Marielos? I think what you mean is, if in the application you had mentioned that you don't want to self-fund, you want a scholarship. So the interviews are usually for the scholarships. However, let me see if I understand. Sheila, do you understand this question from Marielos?
Not really.
Marielos, if you can clarify for us, but I do see that you say here that you are applying for FI Feedbest. How many scholarships do they give as well? So The other thing, of course, we cannot be able to quite tell how many scholarships they might want to take this time round. However, that is some information might be on that website, because they tell you the quota, how many students they would be willing to take on a scholarship on each of the cohorts. Some programs actually have that information on their websites. They will tell you that maybe they are taking like 20 students on scholarship, 10 students on self-funded, and so on and so forth. This information could, and this is a big could because it depends, could be on any one of the program website. But again, this is at their sole discretion, because it usually depends on, one, the merit. It also depends on the amount of money that they have been allocated for that particular year. It also depends on how many students they are willing to take, and maybe other agreements that they might have with other countries. So for example, some of the programs might have like a partnership with, like I'm from Kenya, so they might have like a University of Porto might have a partnership with the University of Nairobi, and then which means that they would possibly have some more students coming from the University of Nairobi due to this partnership, because they may have said that, hey, we are going to partner so that maybe some of our students might even come for like an internship in your country or such kind of things. It depends on the partnership that they have. So they might maybe take more students from Kenya because of that partnership. However, it's not even usually guaranteed sometimes, because it also depends on how many people will even apply from that particular country. So it's usually at the sole discretion of the consortiums. We have no way of telling. However, some statistics are actually available on the program website. And I see you have clarified your question here. I have the doubt if the interview is for the scholarship or to be admitted to the program. Okay, so maybe you're asking whether the interview is just a general interview, or it's for everyone who might get the scholarship or not. I guess, Sheila, that's what she means.
Yeah, I think what I can answer about that is that she means that the interviews that are being invited right now are for the scholarship. So if you are self-funded for the program, it will be later after they have already selected the people from the interviews, the scholarship awardees. So in most cases, in most Erasmus program, the self-funded always come later after they have selected the people on scholarship. Yeah,
absolutely true. In fact, the self-funded programs, if you're applying to as a self-funded student, in fact, your deadline is much later, much after the Erasmus scholarship deadline has passed. I guess we've answered all your questions, guys. You have been amazing hanging out with us for 2 good hours. 2 good hours. I never expected 2 hours. In my head, I was thinking 1 hour, but I think hopefully this session has been helpful to you. And if it's not for you, if you're watching this much later, you can obviously share this with someone else who can benefit from it. And before we go, I am so privileged to actually have Sheila here, because she's taken her time, away from her studies to join us here. And much thank you to you. And I want you to give us some closing remarks. So some people would say, okay, Erasmus, okay, so it's a far-fetched thing, I don't know whether it's my thing. What would you say about that? Did you think it was ever your thing?
For me, what I can say is that, first of all, in my scholarship, I can say journey, because it has been a long one. I didn't apply for Erasmus. I was looking for UK, so that's Commonwealth, there's Chevening. So I was set on getting those, because I didn't want the trouble of learning another language, of having to go. Yeah, so that in my head, that was what I was thinking. But it served me regrets. What else? Reserved list. So I decided to look Europe, and I found this Erasmus. So I tried. It's not the first time I'm trying. So initially I had the first one was Globed and Noah. The last year before this other year. So I didn't get to any. So this time round, I decided to try on IMAS, and I got it. So sometimes it's not about you, but sometimes it's just that it's not yet time, because if I'd got on my first shot, I would know how to go about many things. It's a journey that you learn how to interact, how to ask somebody to check your SOP. It can be stressful. How to get the documents, how to communicate, how to express yourself. And then sometimes it's just that it's not the right time for you, because getting a scholarship and going abroad, it takes more than what we see on the photos and all that. It looks maybe, but it's emotional, it's hard work, it's different. In Europe, it's different. I mean, the education system is different. The teacher will not come with notes like we are used to. So you are given things to read and all that. It's stressful. So I think if I had got immediately after my fourth year, maybe I wouldn't have made it. But yeah, just learn in the process and be patient about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned something very important, that you applied for NOHA, you applied for Globed, you applied until you applied for AMAS, that's when you got it. And I would want you to speak about the emotional investment that we were talking about here, even with Olajide. What would you say about that? Because most people feel so bad after they get a rejection letter, or maybe they are told that, hey, you're on the reserve list, so not today, not this year. So I don't know what you would want to say about that, because I know for a fact that personally, I was also a little emotionally invested. As much I was like, you know what, they will never pick me. But, you know, you have that room of like, oh, I want to know whether they picked me. So I don't know what you can say about the emotional investment of a scholarship application, because you've been through it even, you know. So can you tell us more about that?
So at first, when I started applying, I was really invested emotionally. I was really invested. So when I got my regret, I was like, why? And I did my best, and everything else was perfect. It was perfect in my sight. And yeah, I decided that this time I will look for a job, which is also a task in Kenya. So I will look for a job and look for other things to do, improve on my CV, do some online things, some online academics and all that, get certificates. So yeah, if you do not 100% be scholarship. No, it's good to be go overboard and look for other things that you can do, so that when you get regrets, because they serve each year at regrets, and it's actually mostly most people get regret letters. So just don't be focused on it. Do your best and let the rest just come. So what I did for me, when I saw that UK is not coming, and the most thing that hurt me is that I got what do you say, not a regret, the reserve list. I was in a reserve list for LSC, and I was like, this is what I want, and why is it that I didn't get? So yeah, I just think maybe I will go back to LSC for PhD. You never know. So like, if it doesn't work in UK, in US, or your perfect choice, always look for others, and maybe it's a route to you finding your final destination. Yeah, so you can invest, but leave some for your sanity. Yeah.
Very, very, very valid points there. Like, you need your sanity, and you need to cast your net far and far wide, because and in most cases, usually, and I keep telling Kenyans this, because most people would prefer to go to a mainstream country. Like, what I mean by mainstream countries, where you will find that more Kenyans go to the US, more Kenyans go to France, go to the UK, Germany, all these countries that, you know, quote unquote, are mainstream, or they have a lot of popularity. And people will shy away from going to a country like Portugal. Who goes to Portugal to live there even? Who goes to places like, you know, Spain or Italy or Greece to even study there? But let me tell you for a fact, the non-mainstream places are the places that will even act as a very good springboard for you for future. Because the thing is, usually, even if we're not talking about Erasmus here, if you're looking even for another program that might be, you know, you see a scholarship in a country you've never heard of, you don't even speak the language of the day there, you know, and you feel like, hey, this is a good opportunity, but hey, the language, I don't know how I'm going to work out the language. But these are places that you could easily get into such a scholarship, because again, because of the competition. There's a lot of competition in the mainstream countries. There's a lot of competition in the UK, the US, Australia, and so on and so forth. So some of the places that you might want to shelf and see as if this is not something that works for me. And in fact, even with Erasmus, some of the countries that you will go to, you might never even have heard of them. Some people have found people going to places like Slovenia, some places, you know, you've never heard of. No one ever goes there to actually stay there. You know, people who came for the first time, they went to Czech Republic, they're happy there. They've never even experienced the, you know, such kind of a culture. And the mishmash of the countries here, you know, because Erasmus mixes up all these countries within the European Union for you to be able to see different cultures. And this is what acts as a very good springboard for you to be able to even open up your mind to something different. You might want to stay here and work here. You might want to spread your wings like Olajide went to Canada and be able to settle there. And the ease of you moving from now the European continent into maybe like a place like Canada is easy now, because you've already gotten used to the life abroad. And it's much easier in a non-mainstream country. I can tell you for a fact. The stress, because let me tell you for a fact, being abroad is stressful in itself, because the one thing that I would want to tell you is that loneliness can strike in. You can become homesick very easily. The weather there might affect you mentally, and you don't want to have that kind of thing happening to you suddenly, and you have no support system, and you know, you want to maybe drop out because you feel this is not something for you. So looking for a place that even is non-mainstream and maybe has some other favorable aspects can be a very good gateway for you, even in the future, for you to be able to spread your wings even into another different country, and even go back to your own country. When you go back to your own country, your mindset is already changed, because the experience itself, even one semester, changes everything. Changes your outlook of life, of things in terms of your study, whatever it is, really, it changes you immensely. So the one thing that you don't want to do is obviously emotionally, you know, invest yourself in an application. Even if it's a job application, it's always good to have a room that this might fail. It's not a guarantee. None of these things are actually guaranteed. So the thing that we are telling you in this conversation is definitely go ahead and apply for that opportunity. So if it's for Erasmus, go ahead and do it. In fact, start up, you know, preparing as early as now. Prepare your documents as early as now. You know, let somebody check your statement of purpose as early as now, and you know, write it slowly by slowly, such that when it comes in September, you're not rushing at the very last minute and wondering, oh, who can read my statement of purpose? And maybe we are all bombarded by these statements and we cannot read all of them. You know, we love to read people's statements, but then again, you know, when they're too much, then, you know, sorry for you, but that's the thing. Put yourself out there. Get all the resources that you need. Listen to people. Listen to such conversations. Ask the right questions to the right people at the right time, so that you're not also rushing at the very last minute. So I would want to leave it at that, because this conversation has quite been lengthy. And if you're watching this much later after we've recorded this, please feel free to reach out to any one of us for any question. Feel free to join in the community, the Nigerian community or the Kenyan community, whichever it is that you feel free to join. We also have these conversations a lot, and I mean a lot, on Twitter Spaces. We're always on Twitter Spaces talking about, you know, study abroad, life abroad, and all these kind of things. And please subscribe to this channel, because again, I also talk about life abroad a lot on this channel, as well as Erasmus. So if you feel that this is a community that you would want to join and listen more into different other aspects that I hope to have during this year, please subscribe, tell somebody about these videos, and we'll definitely put you in the loop whenever we have another conversation. So it's been amazing hanging out with you, Sheila, and I know for a fact that this is something that you know, we wanted to do. I hope some Kenyans are also here to listen to this, because we have Kenyans, very few of the Kenyans who are interested in listening. So, but anyways, we hope to catch up with our Nigerian community. And thank you so much, guys, for joining in. My name is Duta Wambura. I am your country representative for Kenya, and I hope that you are actually going to ahead and apply for that Erasmus scholarship. And at least if you get invited for an interview, I hope this session helps you immensely. And let us know if you are successful. Let's celebrate with you much later, of course, during this year. Let us know when you get that letter of acceptance. And whenever we find ourselves in Europe, let me know. If you're ever in Lisbon, you can always reach out to me for a coffee or a tea or whatever it is, or a chat. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. So see you soon.
Okay.